Hi, so this is Jennifer Coluciello, and I'm going to spend a few moments today talking about the sociological perspective from a few different aspects. The first one I'd like to look at is dramaturgy as it applies. So the application of dramaturgy from the theatrical world to the sociological world is actually quite poignant. Each day and at each stage of our life, we have different interactions that can be considered as different scenes within the play of our lives. These could include work, personal family items, social events, interviews, teaching engagements, fundraising events, birthday parties, weddings, funerals, and many others. For example, when preparing to give a lecture, which would be considered a front stage activity, since I am working towards an impression, I would want to give a certain impression, matching the topic and the target audience to my style of outfit, the hair, the makeup, etc. Whereas when I'm at home, where I'm at rest and don't have to worry about making that type of impression right off the bat, this is considered a backstage activity. And there I typically wear comfy clothes. These have a variety of 80s inspired genre images and often do not match. But since I am at home, I don't have to manage my impression nearly as much. And so I have the freedom to be a little bit more myself. Interestingly, when it comes to these impressions and managing them, particularly in a front stage setting, the impression is not based solely on the attire, but it's also on the personality or style in which the item is performed. This is known as role performance. My personality will differ, so to speak, when I am dealing with a friend versus an employee. I'm looking for a different outcome, a different level of gravitas, and so my performance and delivery of that is going to change. This is specifically why it is so difficult to go from being a coworker to a manager in the same department. That change in role necessitates a change in behavior, and unfortunately that can often create conflict. Also, in considering the performance for these activities, it's important to keep in mind that our communication is not limited to just our style of performance and delivery, but also the setting, the manner in which we communicate, and the attire. These three items, the setting, the manner, and the attire, these are what is known as sign vehicles, and we use these vehicles to send additional information about ourselves while performing the actual item that we are attempting to do and trying to reach the goals that we have set. In many settings, there are multiple actors involved in any specific scenario. Hopefully, they all have the hopes of reaching a common endpoint or goal. In order to achieve those goals, we actually do have to work together and collaborate in order to reach them. This is called teamwork. This is most often seen and considered in the workplace, but it's also there and present in an educational setting, a healthcare setting, and many others. For example, if I, as an educator, am about to teach a class, I could give the best performance I have ever done on that subject matter. But if I do not have students who are open and are there and willing to learn, I will not achieve my ultimate goal of passing on that information to them effectively. Conversely, if they are the best student in the world, but I myself am not a good educator, then they in turn will not learn anything. We are successful only to the extent that we work together to achieve the ultimate goal that we have set. One thing to keep in mind additionally is that sometimes we play a role so long and so well, or with such emotion, that it becomes entwined with who we are at our core. Kurt Vonnegut said, "We are what we pretend to be, and so we must be careful about what we pretend to be." Two examples of this. One is actually police officers who have difficulty separating work from their personal life the longer they are in that role as a police officer. Oftentimes, the longer they are functioning as a police officer, they develop difficulty separating out that work from personal life, and as a result end up treating family members often in a similar fashion to how they would treat somebody that they were investigating on a 911 call or a robbery or a domestic or something to that effect. This is often why police officers and their spouses and oftentimes their other family members end up needing to have group and individual counseling on how to best manage that and work with each other to handle that stress. Another example of this would be actors who oftentimes end up being in actual relationships in the real world with the person that they were co-acting with, but developed a relationship with within the actual movie or play itself or the TV show. Again, this goes back to, especially if you are working and portraying a role with heightened emotion, that sometimes we become what we pretend to be. When it comes to the social construction of reality, one of the things we have to keep in mind is that our culture, our beliefs, our values, even the information itself that we've been given from a young age has a significant impact on how we interpret and respond to the world around us. A lighter example of this would be that I grew up playing outside in the dirt from dawn till dusk, roughhousing with my brothers, and so on. Unfortunately, nowadays, playing outside in the dirt and roughhousing and things like that seems to be frowned upon. Some people view playing in the dirt as unhealthy or unhygienic. Yet, to be honest, most people from my generation, born in the late 70s, we kind of make light of the situation and almost view it as a badge of honor, even to the point of making it a meme, such as this t-shirt here. I grew up playing in the dirt and I live to tell about it. A deeper and more current example of social construction of reality is how we view gender. So this has certainly changed from when I was growing up to now. Gender used to be viewed as a static choice determined by the gender you were at birth, and it was limited to 2 items, male and female. This, though, now has become a much broader concept and a much broader topic, and even has a much more fluid definition, not just of the 2 items, but even the variance between them. That concept has completely changed, and so there are definitely different views there. So how do we keep all of these things in mind and yet still function within society to be productive and keep everybody on the same page? How do we keep individualism, add in that teamwork, and still work towards a productive society that is inclusive? So we do this by understanding several items. We have to understand the role that we each play. We have to understand how we interact with others in a variety of settings. We also have to understand that there is, in fact, a collective consciousness at play, and we have to work towards solidarity. We do this by looking for people with the same values and beliefs, and we work towards implementing those values and beliefs. We additionally also look for people who perform same roles and tasks, and then we collectively work to perform those better. These items, these groups that hold the same values and beliefs, and these groups that do the same sort of tasks, in turn create solidarity, both mechanical and organic. But this solidarity then helps keep our society together, connected, integrated, and allows us to continue to progress as a whole. Healthcare itself is an excellent example of this, as there are within the healthcare world different groups. Some of these groups focus on a multitude of different areas of specific anatomical function. Several groups focus on the business and the regulatory compliance and standards, whereas some other ones focus on the financial impacts of healthcare. But at the end of the day, all of these individuals and all of these smaller groups are all working towards a goal of better quality healthcare that's more affordable and more equitable and more inclusive across the board. By finding these commonalities and then working towards them, keeping the macro and the micro level views in our minds at all times, this is what's going to help keep us integrated into the society as a whole. And that integration in turn helps keep our society unified, inclusive, and heading in the same direction. And lastly, here are some references for review in case you're interested. And thank you.